A string of technical issues disrupted ballot counting yesterday in one voting center in Maricopa County, Arizona, and it's fueling some right-wing claims of voter fraud.
It's just one of a handful of problems being reported at polling sites around the country. So CBS News election law contributor David Becker is joining us now in Studio 57 to talk about this. These are like not big issues, though. They're sort of little issues. And I think the fact that officials are openly talking about it speaks to the transparency.
That's exactly right. Election officials all over the country exercise extreme transparency. They want everyone to see everything that's happening. They want observers from both parties watching, which happened. We have to remember a national election is really complex. It's actually 10,000 little elections in all these counties and cities around the country. And we have over 100 million people doing something they don't do very often. And so there are going to be problems. We use millions of machines. And so there were some problems, but importantly in Maricopa County, Arizona, in other places, in Michigan and other places where there were some issues, everyone got to vote, and their vote was going to be counted. There might have been some lines, there might have been some delays, there might have been some confusion, but it all worked.
What surprised you most about yesterday?
How smoothly the voting process actually went. That election officials really did, as I thought they did. They had it. They had this covered. They were ready for the turnout. They were ready for the process. When things went wrong, and things always go wrong in some places, there's a process, like a fail-safe alternative process. And you heard that in Maricopa County. Some of the tabulators got jammed. They couldn't use them as they were intended. Literally a locked box is attached to each one of those, and they could put their voted ballots in there. Didn't add to longer lines. All of those ballots are going to be tabulated, as we heard, probably by around Friday.
So let's talk a little bit about Michigan. The former President Donald Trump on Truth Social, I guess he doesn't tweet, but he posted, the absentee ballot situation in Detroit is really bad. People are showing up to vote only to be told, sorry, you've already voted. That's a portion of what he posted. The Michigan Secretary of State responded to that in a tweet saying, this is not true. Please don't spread lies to foment or encourage political violence in our state. So, I mean, 2020 election, Michigan was the focus as well as other elections. But can you tell us what's happening in Michigan?
Yeah, so what was happening was there was a small glitch that affected a very small number of voters in Detroit, that when they show up to vote, it showed them as perhaps having already received an absentee ballot. Now, this is a good thing. This protects double voting from happening. So they were told they had to vote a provisional ballot, which is correct. To my knowledge, and I talked to election officials in Michigan throughout the day, no one was disenfranchised. Everyone got to vote. This was quickly resolved. They found a way to fix this, and voters throughout the day were able to vote. This is the kind of disinformation that we might be expecting to see more of in the coming days from Arizona, from Michigan, and other places. It's always coming from losing candidates and people who supported losing candidates, because the votes have been counted, all paper, all audited, all recountable, all confirmed.
Allie Bones told us in Arizona she's looking at Friday afternoon, hopefully, for all the results. Do you expect other states like Michigan, Wisconsin, other places to line up with Friday afternoon, or it goes in through the weekend?
I think we'll know most of it this week, which is really good. In Nevada and Arizona, we have a similar situation. We have mail ballots, and most people in those states, in Nevada, everyone gets a mail ballot. And those mail ballots can come in on Election Day. And in Nevada, actually, if they're postmarked, they can come in later. And election officials need the time to do what they're supposed to do for an integrity, which is to check the signatures, make sure these people haven't voted twice before they count those ballots. That takes a little bit of time. That's going to probably take a day or two. I would expect we'll know most of the results in Nevada and Arizona by around Thursday or Friday.
So apparently in Florida, the Secretary of State is blocking Justice Department monitors from certain polling sites. What's going on there?
So every election, and this is not unusual, this happened when I was at the Department of Justice about 15 years ago. Every election, the Department of Justice sends attorneys and observers out all over the country for a variety of reasons: to check minority language compliance in areas where it's required, to look for disability rights compliance, to look for intimidation issues, things like that. And so this election, like every other, they were planning to send some people all over the country, and they did. And in the state of Florida and in the state of Missouri, the Secretaries of State apparently balked at that and said, we don't want you in those polling places. Now, the Department of Justice, I think, let that issue lie and did not push it. But under federal law, federal observers and monitors are permitted in federal elections in these places. It's important that they be allowed there. And there are many, many Republican and Democratic jurisdictions where really well-trained Department of Justice observers and monitors, I was one of them, I know how carefully we're trained, can go and watch like flies on the wall just to make sure the process is working as it's supposed to.
How does the Justice Department pick the places that they send monitors to?
Well, during the 2 years before an election, the DOJ is working all the time to hear complaints about things, talk to election officials, hear from voters, see if there are issues. For instance, do certain polling places need translators? Is there disability access at a particular polling place? Are there issues that might raise concerns about racial justice in voting areas? Those are the kinds of things the Justice Department, that's their job in the voting section of the Civil Rights Division. And so they're looking at that stuff all year long and preparing for it.
Based on what you've seen over the past couple of years and yesterday, what states, when it comes to tabulating votes, do you think are doing best? And what states do you think have some room to improve?
One of the most interesting things is, although this has been turned into a partisan issue in some ways, it's not. Some of the best states are blue and red. The state of Florida does a great job of allowing easy voting for everybody and counting their ballots really quick. So does the state of Colorado. One is red, one is blue. Doesn't really matter. Then there are states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin where the Republican legislatures, as it so happens, did not listen to the election officials and give them the ability and the resources to process and validate mail ballots earlier, where we could have gotten results earlier. Nevertheless, if you look at where those results are coming in and how hard those election officials are working, we're actually pretty close to getting almost all of those votes in thanks to the election officials in those states.
Interesting. David Becker, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Get some sleep. Try at least.